Just think about it.
go.
Yeah, and welcome to episode 3 of Just Think About It. So, in this episode, what we're going to talk about is our time in London. Do you want to give a bit of background to why we spent some time in London, Mikkel?
Yes, sir. We both got accepted into university. We both got accepted to the same university, Imperial College London, and we're both very happy about it and very, very happy to celebrate by doing a lads trip after high school to Portugal, and then we could then happily go to university in London together.
Yeah. So I think one thing we should note is once we got accepted, school was over, and in this trip in Portugal, we got our accommodation. This is kind of where the London story begins.
Yeah, I mean, it should be said also that this wasn't your standard lads trip to Portugal. We went solely to surf.
Yeah.
Like we were literally surfing from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think it was very exhausting, but also one of the best holidays I've ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's better as a lads trip.
Oh, I agree, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. And okay, so in that time, we got our accommodation. That is, so Mikkel, you got your halls.
Yeah, we got allocated where we would live in London for university, right?
And this is after you kind of put your preferences. So, I mean, when I put my preferences, I said live close to the university, live by myself in a single bedroom. What did you put?
Yeah, same as well. I think I also had the option to not live that close, like a little further away, but not the furthest away.
Yeah, and what I put, I had a pretty wide price range of what I'm willing to pay for accommodation because I knew London was fairly expensive. And then what happened, Mikkel, is I got a shared bedroom far away from university. Basically, just everything that I didn't want.
Everything was the opposite of what you put down as your criteria. Like the exact opposite. Whereas I'd gotten exactly what you wanted and what I wanted. I got like the perfect accommodation right next to campus, single room, like no worries. So obviously all good.
I think this is the first time where it kind of dawned on me that I should read stuff fully before
like
carrying out actions. Yeah. Because what happened next was I got an email. I'm looking on my phone after a full day of surfing and I think like, oh, this is not what I want. So they said, do you accept this accommodation or reject it? And I said, reject it because I thought I would get a different one.
Yeah, like you'd get, oh, okay, reject this one. We'll fish out another one from the pool of accommodation. Yeah. Whereas I'd accepted mine before we even went on the trip to Portugal.
And so I rejected mine and then I get an email like, basically, sorry to hear that. And then when I read the email further, it basically said that we're not going to offer you any more accommodation. And that's where like panic set in that I wouldn't have anywhere to stay in London. And it was a huge mistake to reject it.
Right. You'd have to, like, so, that situation is also the worst. Like, you don't know London, you're moving there for the first time, 18 years old, and you have to start finding accommodation by yourself. Like, you have no, like, relationship to London. It's not like you know a bunch of people there that could help you out or anything. Like, you're kind of stuck.
So I pretty much called up the university and got my family as well to call the university and pretty much beg, saying that I made a mistake and I didn't fully understand what I was doing. And then luckily I got some accommodation. Actually, it was probably better the way I did it because it was cheaper than the one I rejected and also it was close to university. Yeah. So all in all, I would say it was a good life lesson. And now I read emails fully. But oh my God, was it stupid?
Yeah, you lost the battle, won the war. I think you got you got some really bad luck, and then you got even better good luck.
Yeah,
I think was the key. I mean, you ended up way closer. Accommodation was decent. You still had a roommate, but
yeah,
I mean, that's not the worst thing that can happen. Like many universities, like you have to have in university.
I think that was the most stressed I've been in my life when I rejected and realized how stupid I was not to read the email fully.
It was almost instant too. It was like you told all of us. You told, I just rejected, and everyone's like, what? What?
Yeah, and hindsight was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, hindsight 2020.
Yeah, but it all worked out after like a week of begging the university.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, that's so good. I mean, lucky you, right? I mean,
yeah, so lucky.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and then, well, I mean, my parents drove me over to England via the tunnel, obviously. I don't know about you.
Yeah, they drove me over as well. So I packed all my things in the car and then drove over.
I packed way too much stuff. Like way
Yeah.
too much. Like I overpacked for sure. I should have packed maybe a third of what I brought.
I don't think I actually overpacked because I had to carry all my stuff after first year and move it to my brother's in Bristol. And so I
Right.
managed to transport all my belongings by myself.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, my sort of way of going at it is like, all right, I'm moving out of my parents' house for good. Got to bring everything.
Yeah.
And that was definitely not the case. First of
Yeah.
all, second of all, big mistake because the rooms aren't that big.
No, they're not. They're small.
Yeah. I bought like books and stuff, like genuinely things that I had no business bringing.
Yeah, I mean, apart from cutlery that I had inherited from my brother, I don't think I brought that many bulky things. But I remember,
Cutlery is bulky to you, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I mean, what, pots and pans,
No,
plates,
okay.
yeah,
The kitchenware.
yeah, kitchenware that I still have to this date, Mikkel.
No, that's
Never
very
throw
good.
anything away.
No, I mean I have mine too, but it's in a box at my parents' place.
I mean, I'm never probably going to use it again because it was terrible cutlery, and
Yeah.
I don't think the definition of a non-stick pan really applied to the stuff I got.
No, the cheapest section of IKEA. I don't know if all of it applies.
I don't know what happened to it. I think my brother must have used like a scouring, like a metal sponge on it to just remove the Teflon. So it no longer had the non-stick part of it.
I just see your brother cutting with a knife on the bottom of the pan. Ross is gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this accommodation you got, what was it like?
Yeah. I mean, so it was in the most rundown halls at university, I would say.
At Princess Gardens for sure.
At Princess Gardens, yeah. And it was called Garden Hall. So I was in a shared bedroom between myself and my roommate Tom from England.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time as well, because let's just say we weren't the most cleanly people together. So my room, you had to walk through his kind of bedroom area to my room, and as I would walk through, I'd have to like step over clothes that needed to be washed and clothes that were just washed to get to my room.
Right. And both of you, I think, weren't too bothered by it. I don't think it was the fact that you were like messy and stuff. It's just like it didn't bother you guys.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing as well. But we had this stupid competition where we had a competition who turned on the heating first lost, and we had to have our windows open.
You had to have your windows open? That's insane.
So it was like 2 degrees inside our room, and we're both just freezing completely. But because we had this competition for no reason, we just didn't turn on the heating and didn't shut the windows.
There's no gambling involved either. Like there's no bet on it. Nothing.
I think there was
like,
£2.
Oh,
£2 on it.
Okay. That's a good amount.
Yeah. I mean, we used to play some stupid games.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of bets, we used to play. I mean, you live with Tom, so we both knew each other, so we obviously hung out a lot, and we hung out a lot with Tom. And then in your halls, there's also a guy named Brees and a guy named Jerome that we hung out with. So it was the 5 of us, right? Yeah. And we did different things. I mean, we cooked together once in a while. We tried to do it weekly, but none of us were organized enough to ever maintain that. But we would play cards and drink beers quite often. That was like the one thing that we managed to organize between. And we always played Contract Vist, which is a card game where you kind of you do it in rounds, and you get points, and you get like you take a pile or whatever, and you get a point, but you have to bet before you start the round how many points you're going to get that round.
I mean, it's a really good game. Actually,
yeah, it's really fun. And then you get your points, plus if you guess right or you bet right the amount of points you're going to get, then you get an extra 10 points. So it's really worth, making a very educated guess in the beginning of the round based on your cards.
Yeah. So we used to play this while kind of making roast dinners and stuff like that on Sundays, and our kind of forfeits got really out of hand very quickly though. And I remember the forfeit where we had this cheap beer that we used to get from the corner shop at our halls. What was it called?
Special brew. Little stubbies. Yeah.
So it wasn't great beer cold.
But it was cheap. It was cheap. Cheap as chips.
It was cheap. I mean, it was cheap for the corner shop, but it was still not
exactly. Cheap for the corner shop, kind of cheap for the UK too.
Yeah. And And we decided that it wasn't enough that we would have to drink this beer as a forfeit. We had decided that we would have to drink it warm.
Yeah.
But not yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but not like lukewarm. We would put it in the oven until it was like
60.
tea temperature hot.
60 degrees is what
Yeah.
Jerome put it on. This is all Jerome's idea too. He had all the grandest ideas, and that was his sort of idea. And I don't think it was ever put up for a vote or even just like an opinion. It was just like, this is what we're doing.
This is the forfeit.
Otherwise,
yeah.
otherwise we're not playing. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I mean, and this was what, like five times in. Like this is the fifth time we played. This was the decision. Warm beers. None of us were drunk. We just had a little bit of beer every time. But this time it was like, all right, we're drinking warm beers. If you lose by more than 2, so if you bet wrong by more than 2, drink one 60-degree beer, Celsius then.
Yeah, and this was like, if anyone has had a warm beer, like a lukewarm beer, it's horrible. But if you have a 60-degree beer, it's just absolutely revolting.
Yeah,
and it's so gaseous, and I think it made everyone puke.
Yeah, genuinely, one beer down. Not even too many beers. One beer in.
Yeah.
60. It was so fizzy too, and it was instant, almost.
Yeah.
Puking. I mean, I managed to run outside and puke in the bushes.
Yeah.
Reese was not so lucky. I think he just puked in the corner of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Not ideal. But
imagine anyone coming into the halls and just seeing 5 idiots. Like literally doing this to themselves.
None of them drunk.
None of them in their kitchen. Yeah. You were just thinking like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, top 5 of stupidest things I've done, I think.
Yeah, but a great game and a great forfeit.
Definitely one that you will play your hardest to not have to suffer through.
And to be honest, I don't think this is the last time we're gonna play with that forfeit, Mikkel.
Oh yeah, we're gonna pull it back for a comeback. Yeah, I think so. A reunion sometime with the London.
For sure. And then as well, when we sort of started at university, I think football was something that we had in common.
Right. I mean, we never played in high school, right?
No.
It wasn't like we were footballers. It's not like we were the footballing athletes.
No, I mean, so to give the context of the university that we went to, it was a all science and engineering university, first of all. So it was mainly male dominant, and I would say the proportion of people were more academically inclined, to put it politely.
By far, like it was like 80%.
Yeah,
didn't want anything to do with sports.
which is fair enough, you know.
Yeah, for sure. That's not why you're here.
Yeah. So we joined the football team, and what football team were we in, Mikkel?
Well, we were on the Imperial football team, but they have 7 official teams.
Yes. So, and which one were we on?
The 7th.
Yeah.
7th team. We just pulled through and made the 7th team. But in fairness to us, some people didn't even make a team. Like there's so many people at tryouts. Did you try out, by the way?
Yeah, I did in second year. I think you called me in first year and you're like, "Hey, do you want to play football one weekend?" I said, "Okay."
But I didn't try out. I didn't try out first year either. I just kind of went. I went to the second or third practice. I don't know why I went. I just decided I'm gonna play a bit of football.
Okay. Yeah, and then after you got on the team, you called me and you're like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And then I came. So we didn't even try out. So I can't even say that we were selected for the team.
No, we weren't. But we came and we were good enough to play for 7s.
Yeah. I mean, 7s were kind of like the rejects of the football team, to be honest.
Yeah, no coaching whatsoever. We'd turn up Monday nights. First of all, the place that everyone trained for football, because our university is based in the middle of London, it was like an hour out.
Yeah.
But
it was an hour out, but it was a Premier League at the time training facility.
Yeah, QPR, yeah. QPR, my bad. Queen's Park Rangers. We had a team in our league called Queen's Tower Rangers. But anyway.
Which was insane to think that we're training on the same facility as a Premier League football team. But we had no trainer because the trainers went up to like team 6 and 7 were kind of just like, yeah, kick the football around. That's probably what you need. Learn to kick. Yeah. And so that's what our football training consists of.
It was so grand. And then we would play scrimmages at practice, and generally I think no one wanted to pass the ball. Like once they got it, it's like there's no way I'm passing. It's like I finally got the ball. No way. No one was there to play the team game. It was really not high quality.
But it was also the fact that everyone had, like, the 6s and up had their team, and then they would train with their core team, and And if there's anyone who joined the training, they'd just be put with the sevens. So sometimes we'd have like 30 people training at the same time with no coach and just like so unorganized.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Like you didn't make the sevens, but you're okay to turn up to practice because that means you pay membership.
Yeah.
And everyone is welcome. And then you just get put with the sevens. So it was really a disaster. I didn't go to that many practices, to be honest.
No. And then our kits. That's another thing that sticks in my mind.
Match day. Match day comes.
Match day, comes. So
yeah.
So the kits were hand-me-downs from the previous teams. So in the first year, our kits were at least 10 years old. And this is 10 years of sweaty students just playing, forgetting to wash their kits occasionally. So they're just absolutely disgusting.
And it's hand-me-downs. It's like a trickle-down hand-me-down, right?
Yeah.
It's like the first team would get new kit every year.
Yeah.
And then the first team would pass down their kit to the second team. And the second team would pass down their kit to the third team, and so on and so forth, until the seventh team gets like the one that's been worn for like 7 generations of footballers all the way through. Like genuinely worn out, to say the least.
And I remember that we had a rotation, so every time we had a football match, someone would take home the kits to wash them.
Right.
And occasionally, some people would forget to wash it.
Occasionally, more often than not.
More often, yeah. So they would bring in the bag into the change room. They're like, "Oh, sorry, boys, I forgot to wash the kit this week," and it's just been sat there, like normally wet because it was raining during a match day because it's England, for a week, just absolutely stink up the whole locker room, and we just had to put on this terrible kit and go play football.
Yeah, not nice. Not nice at all.
Yeah.
But the matches were fun though. I really enjoyed the match part of it, and we got the matches from the football club, but we also got like Halls football put on a tournament every year, which I thought maybe was even more intense because people took Halls football so seriously. Like it's like winning Halls football is like the thing to do in Halls if you're into.
Yeah, that's true. And we would play in Hyde Park, which was not a like smooth surface or anything. There'd be like holes. It would be wet. There'd be like really big puddles there.
We carried our own goals. We carried our own goals there, and these were like 7-a-side goals. Yeah. And we wouldn't like pack them up. Like you guys packed them up, but at my hall we didn't pack them up. So we just carry like this 7-a-side goal through the streets of London to Hyde Park. Like cars would stop. Like it was genuinely comical. Every Sunday we had to sort this out. Like it's genuinely a joke.
Yeah, I think we should mention as well that we used to live in South Kensington. So this is the poshest area of London. This is where you walk to university or walk to Hyde Park and you see Bentleys. The least posh car that you would see would be like a Porsche Cayenne.
Yeah,
or Porsche 911, yeah. And then it would just be some scroungy students walking with their like football boots on the road.
Yeah.
Carrying goals,
carrying a big old goal, stopping traffic, like no bother. But also the pitch that we play on wasn't really a pitch. It was just the only area of Hyde Park where you were allowed to just set up and play sports.
Yeah.
And it was genuinely like there'd been a stampede of horses that I'd run through right before because like it was so knobbly and there's holes everywhere and like if you didn't hurt your ankle, it was a miracle, I think.
Yeah, agreed. And one match that sticks out to me the most is when our friend Jerome, he went out for a night before and he got hit by a car because he was running across the street and luckily he wasn't too injured. But he was like really bruised up and we didn't have enough players to play, so we told him that he had to play anyway.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy who just completely bruised, couldn't run, just standing still on the pitch for a full hour as we played this match.
Just to make numbers. Like that's dedication.
Yeah. That's how seriously we took it.
In fairness, though, I think the hardest part for me about Halls football was finding enough players to play every week, like people who could commit every Sunday, because there's always some excuse, like I'm hungover, I have an assignment, I can't come this week, I'm going home. Like it's really hard to get a solid amount of players, and even harder to find someone who would want to play in goal. Like that is the lowest position for whatever reason in football is just playing goalkeeper. Like no one wants to do it.
But it made such a huge difference if you had a good goalie.
Oh,
it was like the difference between winning really comfortably or just losing atrociously.
Yeah, exactly. It's like make or break a team. Like you could have a decent team and no keeper, you would lose to a worse team. You could have a terrible team with a great keeper and you would beat better teams. Like it genuinely made a big difference.
Yeah, that is very true. And I think the other thing was going out to the union as well with the football team and halls and sports nights. And I would say that we were pretty against just the lad culture
Yeah,
that
we
had
didn't really
existed in the football
participate.
team.
I don't know if I was like full on against. I mean, I am definitely against it now, but back then I was just like I didn't enjoy it, so I just didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And it should also be mentioned, sports night is a thing that exists in the UK, and I don't know if it exists elsewhere. I mean, I haven't experienced it elsewhere, but it's Wednesday afternoons are set aside for sports. So we played a lot of our games on Wednesday afternoon, so there's no class, and then everyone would go out drinking afterwards.
Yeah.
On Wednesdays, which everybody knows is the best time to go out drinking because everyone has class and work Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
Like,
so
it's like a midway drink.
we would have a half day on Wednesday, so I was really confused why we wouldn't just pick Tuesdays. Because
Yeah,
I mean, I can sit through half a day of lectures and be
being a
fairly
bit
hungover or
hungover,
tired.
yeah.
But on Thursday, I just wasn't for it at all. It would be like a full day of lectures. You've got your assignments due for the Friday normally,
Yeah,
and it'd just be
exactly.
such a nightmare.
And it's not like you're like part of the team and it's all fine. You go and you play, and then you're like, oh boys, I'm not gonna come sports night tonight actually because I have lectures tomorrow morning. You
Yeah.
would get so railed. Like everyone would shout and scream and
Yeah.
like insult you until you decided that it wasn't worth arguing and that you just turn up to sports night.
Yeah.
Like there's no mercy whatsoever.
I think I turned up to sports night like 2 or 3 times,
Max.
and then I would always just say like, "Yeah, I'll see you guys there," and then never turn up.
Never, like genuinely not, because we go there. So the first, I remember it so vividly. Like the first time I went, and I didn't know what it meant to go. We would sit. They would get there early. All the football guys would get there early, and this is from all the teams 1 through 7, all the teams that had games, and they would get there early, get all the tables, make like one big long table, like think like Valhalla Viking style, and just sit around and then play drinking games. And it's not like it's like casual, you play a bit of drinking games and everyone gets like a little bit drunk at their own pace. No, it's aggressive, someone needs to puke ASAP kind of drinking games, and that's never been my thing. Like I've never ever enjoyed that, and I don't see why people would, but this was the thing every week.
Every week. So needless to say, I don't think we participated too much in that.
No, not at all.
But I guess it's a great thing for English culture, and anyone who gets to go to a university in England needs to experience.
Yeah, if you like drinking. I mean, times might be changing. I feel like every time someone older than us talks to us about their time they had at sports night, it was wilder. It always gets wilder the further you get back, because I feel like there's less restrictions. Like by the time we got there, the only drinking game they were really allowed to play was this thing called Matchbox. But I feel like there was more aggressive ones before that just got banned.
Yeah, and I feel like the university we went to wasn't even in the same league as most of the universities in the UK.
In terms of
it was
drinking?
known
No.
as the like nerdy university, and
definitely 100%.
And then I think that takes us to the next big topic is looking for accommodation in second year.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way it went down was after first year, we went back to our homes, and we both had to travel back to Holland because we had lived there and we don't have any family in England.
Right.
So I was I was going to live with 3 friends. So Jerome, Reese, and Tom. And Jerome was from Ireland, so he went back to Ireland. And then Tom and Reese were looking for accommodation. And they were in charge of looking for accommodation. But it was, in hindsight, it was a great thing to just think the 2 people who are the most messy, the laziest in terms of just non-essential things, looking for accommodation.
And in one of their cases, essential things also.
Okay, yeah, true.
Not naming any names.
Yeah, true. And so I think they looked at one place that was in budget, and they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's take it. And so, great, I had accommodation for second year.
One and done. One and done.
Let that be a lesson to anyone. Never, ever go for the first house you see. Even if you think it's the best, just don't. Just see at least 3 or 4 houses.
Compare the situation. Get a feel for it.
So I get there after the summer back in the Netherlands, and I rock into this home and I open it, and it smells musky and like damp. because it's September time, so it's getting fairly cold. And of course, I'm the last one there because I'm traveling from abroad, so I get the worst room. That was the moldiest room, so there was mold in the corner, in every corner, just black mold. So I was like, okay, great.
Great. I'm not surviving this, I guess.
So fair enough, I live through that. And then when it gets closer to winter, the house gets really cold. Do you want to tell the story about how cold it got, Mikkel?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come too often. Like I should have come more and been a better friend, I guess. But the thing is,
Yeah.
first of all, it was quite far, and it was a quite inconveniently located in terms of where it was in London from downtown, like from South Kent where I live. But you guys did host a couple of parties or a couple of house parties or gatherings, get-togethers, whatever you want to call them, once in a while, and I'd make my way over. And this must have been one of the first couple of times I was over there because it's freezing, and I don't know what month it is. It's probably November or something, and it's so cold. I walk in and like I'm wearing a jacket, obviously, but I think I took the tube or the bus there, so I didn't expect like to be outside for very long.
Yeah.
And I walk inside their house, and it is genuinely like outside. And then the first thing Jerome shows me is a hole in the wall straight to the outside. Like it's just a hole, just a straight hole in the wall to the outside. Like there's no insulation, there's no reason. It's just there is no bricks.
Yeah, so I think to be explained, they had a kitchen extension that they had obviously done, and obviously not done very well because the whole kitchen extension was falling away from the main house. And so there's just this Y-shaped wedge that we ended up stuffing newspaper there to try and insulate it, but it was hidden behind a bookshelf.
Because everybody knows if you need to insulate newspaper, everybody knows.
What else were we gonna put?
I mean, you guys didn't live too far from like Home Depot or whatever it's called, the English version of Home Depot, where you could get material that insulates way better, surely.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe, but in terms of what you had in the house, newspaper, probably top 10 of the best things.
Top 10 of the best insulated. But this place was such like a terrible house in terms of mold, and just the kitchen as well. Like it had missing kitchen cabinets, and you could see the ground in the kitchen cabinets.
Yeah, like straight to the dirt.
It wasn't even like tiles or anything underneath the missing kitchen cabinets. It was just dirt and like electrical cables covered up with plastic bags.
I think you offered for me to sleep over that night too, and I quickly decided I think I'd rather make my way home despite being a little drunk.
Yeah,
it's not worth.
Yeah, so we lived in a pretty shady area as well, in Shepherd's Bush, and one of our friends walking home, he got bottled on the way to our place, which is just insane to think about.
It's not something you would expect because it's like, oh, we live here, but genuinely he got hit in the head with a bottle.
Yeah. So he had to spend the night in hospital, and they fractured his skull, and it's just like, that's
disaster.
Kind of
it's scary.
And I remember as well, so we had a few house parties, and then our neighbor came over one day to just talk to us, and he basically said like, if you have another house party, I'm gonna break your windows in. Like, not joking, said that to us.
Like, and we're dead serious.
Oh, okay, well that set the tone very quickly. So we went on the best terms with our neighbors.
No, and it definitely wasn't the sort of area where you think, oh, he's just kidding.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So a great experience.
Genuinely.
House. And I mean, it was cheap though. It was
probably
cheap.
As cheap as you could get it, to be honest. Yeah. Like within London.
And then we had this stupid thing where we would pick up couches from the side of the road and bring them home.
Bed bugs. I feel like bed bugs wasn't a worry for us ever. Was it?
No, I mean I'm glad we didn't live in the US because bed bugs are way bigger here.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I'd never even considered it as a problem before coming here, before coming to North America.
Yeah, so we'd just pick up a random sofa because we'd be walking home drunk and just bring it to the house. So we had, I want to say, 5 sofas. Well, I guess 3, and the other one counted as like 3 sofas because it's just huge.
Yeah, like a massive one and then 2 little ones.
Yeah.
And then
also armchairs as well.
Yeah, lots of chairs, lots of stuff. Like it was very packed with stuff.
Yeah. And then one time we had a barbecue, so one of my housemates, naming no names, thought it would be a good idea to put the sofa outside. but not bring it
Classic.
back inside after the barbecue. And this sofa wasn't a normal sofa. It was just a huge kind of sponge, like a foam, hard
Yeah.
foam sofa. And so it was just it weighed a ton because it just soaked up all the water after the rain. And I just remember the nightmare that it was when trying to throw the sofa away when we were moving out.
Yeah, that's a disaster. And you guys had to throw it away. Like I felt
Yeah.
like it was like impossible to carry because it never went back in the house. I feel.
No,
No.
so it was just a nightmare of a house.
Also, didn't a bunch of our friends from the Netherlands come and visit you in your house and sleep over one time? You cooked for all of us.
Yep.
Like you cooked for all of us like a 3-course meal. It was really nice, but everyone was a little taken aback by I think your living conditions.
Accommodation.
Yeah.
That was a great time. Do you remember the dessert, Mikkel?
I remember we had halloumi for starters. Oh, was that the fish thing that Reese made?
No, I made banana bread for everyone.
Oh, you made it. Okay.
Yeah.
But Reese ate it.
Reese ate it
because he's insane.
It was from Jerome's. I don't even know what you call fish dish.
Like it was a baking tray essentially, or baking dish that you used.
Yeah, and so this banana bread just tasted of fish.
It was really rank. It's like an aftertaste of mackerel. Like,
It was so disgusting. And also, it was so cold in the house that after I took it out, I put it on the kitchen counter, and the dish shattered because of the temperature difference. That's how cold it was inside.
Absurd, but it tasted so rank. Like I didn't want to like insult your cooking or anything, but it was inedible. Like genuinely, the starter and the mains was so delicious, and we all had the greatest meal. Yeah. And then everyone kind of took a bite and looked at each other, and no one wanted to be rude, but everyone just kind of spat it out.
Yeah, I think as soon as someone mentioned it, they're like, "Yeah, this is disgusting. Why does it taste like fish?" And I had no idea because I followed the recipe, and normally I'm okay at making banana bread.
And normally you don't put fish in banana bread.
Yeah, but I guess it must have just been leftover oils that I hadn't cleaned fully.
Yeah, definitely. But Reese, like everyone is like not eating it. Reese just powers through 3 portions of fishy banana bread. Like that guy's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it waste not, want not. So
yeah, in fairness to him, very, very environmentally friendly at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that whole house was very environmentally friendly. Like we never used heating because it would just literally go out through the wall. So what was the point?
Yeah, exactly. You guys lived on very little heat.
The showers had to be extremely short because it was just so cold. They would have to shower really quickly and just get ready and leave.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, the one thing I remember, it was December time. Everyone was leaving for Christmas break, and I was the last one left. And there was a water leak, and so there was a bulge, and there must have been at least like 50 liters of just water in Tom's room.
Oh no! Like all over the floor, or like in the walls?
No, what? So the paint actually deformed. So it's just creating this like huge bowl of water, and like it held the water amazingly. But then one day it broke, and it just like flooded his room and was dripping downstairs in the living room.
I think at that point Tom had a girlfriend, right? He just lived at hers.
Yeah. Tom was out. I mean,
yeah, he picked the place, but he didn't stay there.
He was like, my girlfriend's place is so much nicer. Why would I even live here?
Yeah, pass.
And so we barely saw him.
That's why he picked the lowest rent. Yeah, pick the lowest rent and then bugger off.
Yeah, I mean, genius move to him, to be fair. So
yeah, most definitely.
But the thing is, like, the landlord just didn't care at all. And when I called them saying this leak happened, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's close to the weekend and plumbers are more expensive, so we'll just wait till Monday."
That is so savage.
And so I was like, "What? This is literally going to destroy the house." But okay.
Okay, whatever. We don't need floors. We don't need floors for a whole weekend. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And then I remember Jerome getting mad because there was a squirrel in the ceiling that just kept on waking him up and like freaking him out as well.
Yeah, this was a haunted house. I mean, it might not be haunted by a ghost, but it's just haunted by the lack of care that anyone in its past has ever taken.
I think if you ever see 4 students, that means the place is pretty much just a hellhole.
Yeah.
It's just not suitable for anyone.
I can draw a quick parallel to like in Montreal where I live now. They have where most of the undergraduate students live is called the student ghetto, which is definitely not a PC name, but it's still called that. and everyone refers to it as the ghetto, and that hasn't changed despite Montreal being quite a PC city. I don't know if that's not that bad. I'm not one to judge, but anyway, and genuinely it's this whole area of Montreal just with only McGill students, and I would say maybe 70% of houses there are sort of similar sort of states, maybe not quite as bad, because here if you have a hole in the wall, the winter will ruin you, like you won't be able to survive. but you do have some pretty miserable accommodation or houses or things, especially the more students you have living together in one spot, the worse it gets. So if you have 2 people living together, it's pretty okay. If you have like 4 or 5, like it can be a real state.
Yeah. I mean, just student accommodation in general, I think it's great for people to live in, to give like you a fresh sense of what is acceptable.
I think you're right. I think what I learned a lot from student accommodation is just how to appreciate little things.
Yeah. I cannot complain whenever I move anywhere.
No,
I just have to think back in second year and be like, actually, this is amazing.
Every place I've ever stayed in since, it's just been so nice. So it's like, I'm so appreciative. There doesn't have to be much. I'm not picky whatsoever when it comes to this anymore.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that kind of takes us to the end of the London episode, part 1, and there'll be part 2 next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Where we'll explore a bit more about like when we lived together and our final year at university, because I think that was an action-packed year.
That has a lot of content. So yeah, I think it deserves a section of its own. But we decided to add a little nuance to our podcast, I guess, and a little puzzle at every week that we'll then, give you the answers to the week after, just so there's something to think about, once you've listened to the podcast.
Yep. And this one's a really good one. So thanks to Eitan's dad.
Yeah, Eitan, who's my housemate, his dad visited one time, and this was a riddle he asked me. And it's a very good riddle, I thought, and it was not the easiest of things to figure out, but here goes. So the premise is you have 1,000 wine bottles, one of which is poisoned, and you want to determine which bottle is poisoned by feeding the wine to rats. The poisoned wine takes 1 hour to take effect or to kill the rat. What is the minimum number of rats necessary to find out which bottle is poisoned in 1 hour?
We'll reveal it next week. I must admit, you told me this early in the week and I was stumped.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
No.
It's not impossible either.
No. You just have to think about it, Michael.
You just have to think about it.
All right, and catch you on the next one.